because it's the silly, stupid, fascinating, weird, wonderful. They're my people, and more often than not, they're the geeky people as well.
I mentioned Betamax. For anybody older, that's the old version of a video cassette. Video cassette is an old version of a DVD. A DVD is not set as a cloud. Hello, welcome to another Faith and Geekery. My name is Mark, and this is
Becca!
Yay! We've remembered our names this week. It is a pleasure to be with you. Say that again, sorry.
2 points to us.
I've been having a bit of computer problems this week, so apologies if I cut out or anything. I was about to pretend to break up, then I thought, you know what? It's been going wrong so much, I just don't even want to pretend anymore. It's, Anyway, how are you doing, Becca? You okay?
We're doing very well, thank you. I am, what am I? I am StreamYarding in from an Airbnb in somewhere in London today.
Very nice.
Today. The opening credits reminded me of Play School today. There was something Play School-esque about what's going on along the toys.
Oh, yeah.
Just needed a Humpty Dumpty in the background.
Don't have a Humpty Dumpty, so
you need one.
But
we'll
I did
our guests to crochet you one.
Yes, well, I was going to say tonight we're going to be joined by Lydia, but just for general conversation tonight. Yeah, I'm glad that you've joined us. But the question that we always start off with is, what geeky things have we been up to since we last gathered? So have you been up to anything that you want to disclose right now, Becca?
I think so. I think my life is generally vaguely geeky because I get excited about other people's geekiness. But nothing specific beyond my normal obsession with Second Life.
Jolly good. I'm not going to mention too much because I've got a little bit later in the Geeks Gallery, which is your first invitation to share something in the Geeks Gallery. If you're on Discord, please come and find us, or if you're not on Discord, please come and find us and share a little bit about what kind of geekery stuff that you get up to. And so that'll come up at some point or other. But yeah, today I've just been trying to sort this blooming computer out.
More technology, it's not like it used to be.
No, indeed. And I've also been sorting out some augmented reality stuff as well, and chatting to folks about that in my district, that we're doing like an AR nativity trail. Which is quite fun, exciting, but I'm at the kind of I need it to all work now moment, rather than as soon as December hits, I'll be in a sea of tranquility going, hello, it all works.
So does it need to be ready for December, 1st of December?
It's pretty much all ready. I just need folks to print off posters and put them up wherever they need them, and I just need to tweak a couple of scenes. I'm not completely happy at the moment. It's mainly it's all male voices. It's all my voices, and I've asked my better half to do some female vocals to give Mary that more authentic female sound rather than a middle-aged Yorkshireman. Yes, nice. So ideal to have that kind of stuff sorted. But yeah, anyway, sorry. Shall we move on to? So we're going to invite Lydia on in a little bit, but should we go straight over to geeky news?
Oh yeah, share us your geeky news.
Oh, where's it gone? Oh, there it is. And 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Geeky News, and first off the bat is Doctor Who, and they have released a new title for the Christmas special, which is The Church on Ruby Road. Intriguing. And the second bit of Doctor Who related information is that about the new series, and the fact that the new series is going to be reset to Series 1, which is not to be confused for Christopher Eccleston's Series 1, or the very first, 63, Series 1 as well. So this is like Series 1 of the new Who, which is very baffling. Anyway, cinema news this coming Friday is going to be The Marvels, which is, I would say, long anticipated or long awaited, but I'm not sure. It feels as if the water's gone off the boil on this one. It's so been looking forward to, and then the week after is the latest in the Hunger Games saga, the prequel, which is Songbirds and Snakes, comes out next Friday the 17th. I think that's everything from Geeky News, so good night. Thank you. So
I oohed at many of those. Oohed with excitement. I wasn't oohed.
You wasn't oohed.
Yeah.
Let's bring Lydia on as well if we want to talk about any of these things. We excited, interested in Doctor Who things, in
Yes.
yeah, jolly good.
Yeah.
And the Marvels.
Well, it's Marvel, so it needs to be true. I've not seen anything. I've not seen any trailers, but it's one of those things. I'll watch it because it's Marvel. But I quite like not seeing things beforehand. I quite like just going in completely cold.
Yeah. What I should have mentioned is, of course, is the Loki. Loki is kind of making its way, and it's the 5th out of 6 episodes, I think. So we're kind of hitting towards a conclusion, which, in regards to Marvel things, I think Loki Series 2 has been just as good as Series 1, if not better. It's very kind of like interesting. But then, Hunger Games, Songbirds and Snakes, or whatever, that looks very exciting and interesting. I've not even read the books either. Oh,
yeah, no, I automatically picked up my phone to see where I was up to in the audiobook, because I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through listening to the audiobook. So I'm going to have to listen to it on the way home, on my drive home.
Glitch your way through so you can be all up to knowledge and know what the outcome is going to be. Jolly good. And I think that's everything that I mentioned. New Who. I mean, that was a bit.
You knew who?
Yeah,
I enjoyed you saying that, to be honest.
Well, it feels as if I'm going to go yoo-hoo, 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 which is a little bit crazy, really.
This is taking me back to Monk's Cross at lunchtime, where I parked next to someone with an number plate, so OOM, and I was like, your number plate says and mine says no and they were like, yes, now go away please, because you're a bit worrying.
And it's the first time they'd ever noticed that before. Okay.
They were gone when I went back.
I'm gonna go now.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty cool. Yes, shall we move on to our weekly feature of the quiz?
Yes.
Okay? That good?
Yes. No, I couldn't remember whether Geeks Gallery or quiz came first, but yes.
Quiz,
hang on, let me get my phone.
You
I'm
ready? I'm going to do the little intro bits. So, do we have too much video features bits? It's like a bit of a breather.
No, it makes us look slick and snazzy.
Oh yes, of course. Yes.
Jazzy.
We're streaming to you. So, quiz questions. I've got 5 questions for you. Folks, don't spoil anything in the comments, but, any comments would be lovely. But don't spoil anything. I've got 5 quiz questions for you. And I think I would like to set a bit of a precedent here, because we've done it a couple of different ways. I'm going to ask you the questions. you're going to write things down. Somebody wants to offer promotion of followers and everything else.
Chatbots.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, we need to designate. I'd like some nice comments, not just any comments.
Would like any comments at all.
Anyway,
Immediately get a chatbot.
5 questions, and then before I release the answers, I'm going to ask what you got.
Oh, boo, bothered.
Because I think that's a bit more exciting than just like question number 1.
Do you want us to make up answers if we don't know the actual one?
Are you suggesting change? Because change.
No, I'm suggesting that we haven't got a tradition yet in order to change it. That we're going to kind of come in quick.
That is true.
So, quiz question number 1. Remember the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason, and plot. But what was the year?
Oh, good Lord.
Or is that going to be too hard? Would you like a different question?
No, I'm making up the answer.
Okay, that's fine then. That's fine.
I'm not going to think about it too much.
You are not alone.
It was during the reign of James I, if that helps.
No.
Should we move on to question number 2? I've got to admit, this is just because I saw it on Twitter or X the other day, and I was like, "Oh, this is really interesting." In 1932, Terry's of York. We already mentioned York in conversation. Terry's of York's chocolate orange first hit the shelves in 1932, but 6 years earlier, they sold a different shaped chocolate. What was that shape?
Mark, you do realise that I'm still trying my best to fit into this part of Yorkshire, and by answering this question wrong, I will prove myself to have been from the other side of the Pennines.
Shall I tell you in the rough area of rough kind of shapes of things? It's
right. Okay. I have written down a shape.
Yes, it's another fruit.
Another fruit? Oh, yes. No.
Okay. Question number 3. And genuinely, I had this written down before our kind of pre-stream conversation. How many days is it until Christmas?
It might be the first time I definitely get an answer correct on this quiz.
Oh, I don't even know. I can't do the maths fast enough.
Lots of people now commenting. I've mentioned Christmas. It's like, what? So Brandon has put too many. It's too many days until Christmas.
But the best bit is the pumpkins have gone away, so I can legitimately be my truest Christmas self at this point.
Absolutely. I thought what you were about to say is the best bit is with the pumpkins, and I'll be like, "Oh, Chris, what?" Anyway, question number 4. Following the new release of, or following a new Beatles single that was released the other day, how many number 1s did the band originally have in their 8 years in the UK? That is.
No idea.
Have you heard the new Beatles song, by the way?
I have not. I remember being excited when Free as a Bird came out back in the 90s.
I'm quite excited to hear about a really positive use of AI, because they used AI to lift John Lennon's voice out of a recording to put in this new one. So it's like he's part. Well, he is part of the song. It's really cool.
That's very cool. Okay, and the last one, with following the success of Ken and Barbie the movie, in the film there is a much sidelined friend of Ken.
Oh,
what is his name?
I only watched this last week as well, so
I watched it 2 weeks ago. So, are we all done? Do I need to repeat any questions, or are we okay?
All right. I'm all right. I'm speaking. I said we as if I was speaking on half of Becca as well. I'm really sorry.
I don't mind that. I'd like you to speak on my behalf and then give all the answers on my behalf also.
Would it help if I told you who the actor was who played that other person?
No.
No, okay.
You're talking to the
Is it his
person
name?
who has run a group for a year, and at the end we sing a goodbye song, and I still go bye bye at each person's name because names don't work for my brain. I'm sorry. It's not that I don't care. It's just that I don't remember.
Yeah, no. Names are really rubbish in my head as well. I don't know why I remember this one so much. Don't know. Okay, how do we think we've done?
Middling.
Terrible. I don't think I've got one right.
Oh no, I'm sorry. How well do we
I'll
feel
do
that
the quiz next week.
Becca gets her room back. Stephen, Brandon, or others who are watching, how well do we think we've done? I'm going to start to come to the answers. So remember the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason, and plot. What year have you written?
1789.
You've got the same numbers as me in a different order. I've got 1897.
Well, I'm afraid you're a couple of centuries out, both of you.
It's a lot earlier, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because 1789, isn't that like Wesley's time or a little bit later?
Maybe that's my problem.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just stuck in the time.
Is that when
period.
Wesley died? In fact, I don't know. I'll have to
No,
Google it.
I think it was when Wesley rode in his unicorn, like at a festival we both went to.
There we go. I think everyone correct.
Okay.
The answer is 1605.
Good gracious.
Sorry, I thought that was the most tedious one out of a lot of these.
That's some history, that.
1932, Terry's of York's chocolate orange hit the shelves, but 6 years earlier they sold a different shaped chocolate. What was it?
Banana.
Lime.
Oh, no. I'm afraid not. It was an apple.
I can't. You won't be able to see it. No.
Oh, it's blind.
I put lemon. I put lemon. I don't know why I said lime because I even put lemon, and then I've got apple written next to it, and I was gonna do a 50. Oh. I hope that I can
Stephen, who
still
guessed the
reside
slabby,
here.
must have heard the bit where I said about fruit, but it wasn't apple flavored though, and I'm kind of going, huh?
Have you had the new mint one?
Oh,
still in the sliced orange shape.
Yeah,
but it is acceptable. Confusing, but acceptable in terms of taste.
And if you do Weight Watchers, very pointylicious across the board. It's just the same points. Yes, but yeah, I was a bit sad when I was there going. But yeah, I guess this was earlier, so they kind of worked on a shape first, and then worked on the orange, and then put an orange flavour to it. But that went until 1956 or something like that. So it was around for a good few years.
I feel a YouTube rabbit hole on how they make the Terry's chocolate orange coming up.
Inside the factory.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to leave the factory. just
we have a faith in
Geekery
trip to a...
Yes, you may come to my city. Yes, please.
Thank you. Question number 3. How many days until Christmas?
48.
48.
Well done. I thought, well done. Correct.
I corrected myself from earlier.
Well, I was about to say earlier you said 47, and I was like, I can't say anything. It's like, should I mention that you were wrong earlier? But well done on both of you. You weren't using your phone, were you there, Becca? It's you just used it.
No, I did head maths. That's why I looked ever so slightly constipated for a while. That's a look we should never do again.
Shall we? Following question number 4, following the new Beatles single, how many number ones did the band originally have in their 8 years?
13.
I put 12. Oh, 22.
20. And that was in the UK. And so the last question, Ken and Barbie film, which was the much sidelined friend. Oh, Stephen was correct, I think.
Well done.
Now, was that Days Till
That's
Christmas?
a good maths joke. I got that one.
Very good. Yes. Yeah. So the last question: who is the much sidelined friend?
I think he's called Alan because when Mark and I were watching the movie together, do you remember I can't remember what the program was, but it was with animals, and it was some form of animal that was shouting. They were shouting at each other. Yeah,
Alan,
Steve.
Alan.
I think it's Alan because Mark and I were shouting Alan at each other.
That's not me, by the way. That you're Mark.
Not yet.
me.
I also have a
Yeah.
I also have a Mark.
Yes, it's like Mark also has a Becky, and that's not me.
Yeah.
I put Kevin Nigel Albert Allen because it was one of those sorts of names.
A bit like my lemon apple.
Yes.
No.
Yes, very similar fruit.
Yes.
But I wouldn't give myself the point.
So that's it. I hope. How many did you get in the end?
Did you say
One.
the correct answer was Alan?
Yes, it was. Sorry, yes, it was Alan. With
I
2
got-
L's.
Oh, do I get
No,
half a point for
No, you
one?
get a point
Okay.
for one. You get a point for one.
I got 3, which is the highest quiz score I've ever had on this.
So well done. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I put it on and Becca took it off.
Is that because you counted your lime apple as a correct answer?
No, I've
wow, that would have
consternation.
been 4. That's really
no.
impressive.
I've got 2 then, haven't I? Because I should be an accountant who can't count.
No, I'll give you the lime apple. It sounds delicious.
Why is it spicy?
Tart.
Shall we move on to the Geeky Gallery? I'm sorry for putting you through that pain.
It's delightful. I feel we need to have Taskmaster at some point. Move on in our challenges and competition.
As in a challenge like around the house sort of thing as we do it?
Yes.
Blimey.
Yes. And maybe bring objects of interest that meet a certain criteria.
Maybe a Christmas special?
Christmas special Taskmaster on
or
Faith
something else.
So
Geeky Gallery. I thought I'd show you a couple of my bits. I played a game with my brother and sister-in-law and brother-in-law, which is called Arboretum, which is a lovely card game. I've also started, and this is why I wasn't going to mention it earlier, I've started collecting wood for a TARDIS. And so that is my goal for later this month. And I've only got like my son's birthday in between. So it'll be fine.
I have this week taken delivery of a cardboard cutout TARDIS. That is a third of the life-size TARDIS.
Oh, very cool.
For a prayer activity.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Is it bigger on the inside?
To be fair, last time I used the TARDIS idea for a prayer station, I bought the big post-it notes and ended up with an A3 printed TARDIS. I was like, the post-it notes are clearly designed to be the size for the inside, not the outside of the TARDIS. Yes, convenient.
Yeah, well, basically, I had already had a TARDIS a while back, but it got knocked around. It was kind of wooden frame cardboard kind of panels, and in about 10 years it died a death, and so I decided not to move with it last time. So I decided to get rid of it, and Becky, oh my gosh, Becky said, yeah, well, we can always build another one. And I was like, yes, if that's an okay, then I shall. And so I was always intending to build it before the 60th, because my 50th one, during the 50th, it went around about 4 churches, and it was like a sketch as well, and all this kind of stuff. But next month, oh gosh, yeah, next month, there's actually going to be a play that people want to use it for. So I have got a deadline for December as well. Nice. So if I can't get it done for November, I'll be sad, as in for the 23rd. But I'm I've got, I need it to be done, or I need enough of it to be done for December. So yes. Anyway, moving on. I can talk about TARDIS for a long time. Luke was sharing that he's had his 30th and the proper mechanical watch, and I think Becca, you were saying that it would be good to try and invite Luke to come on and talk about watches and mechanical things and.
Yeah, and happy birthday to Luke for this week as
Happy
well.
birthday!
Happy birthday!
And also, I guess, referring to some kind of Warhammer stuff. I thought that was a really excellent scene with the kind of the fort on the kind of fallen stone kind of statue thing. Again, an area of what I know little about. So talking very little about, but I think that relates to another slide. Yeah, was it? Oh, I thought I'd left the names on, and I have not left the names on. That is a new commenter in the Discord group who I shall just subtly go and just scan the name now.
Scanning. Daka Davis.
Yeah, thank you. Or was it Dacre? Dacre Davis?
Dacre
Davis.
Dacre.
Don't take the mick out of them. Of the pronunciation, Becca. But yeah, so the eldest doing some painting and some kind of constructing, and there's a lovely chat in our Discord group about kind of tips and ideas. So that's fab. That's what that little bit was relating to. And then Tim, our word of wisdom in the comments. He's kind of bought into a new role-playing system, which legacy system, which is an Arthurian myth legend, which looks pretty cool. And next, Lydia. There you go, Lydia. Do you want to say anything about your own things that you shared?
So this was a work thing, but I've just got a particular affinity with googly eyes, which I think caused you some pain in the Discord, didn't it, Mark? When your children found all your supplies and put them everywhere in your house. But I just think there is a space sometimes for googly eyes to make people smile. So, for example, there are googly eyes on my webcam, and there's a box next to me with a picture of a cow on. Back to next time, and that has googly eyes. Just cheers me up. I don't know why, it just does.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. I mean, I was saddened that my kids pinched my googly eyes, but it is actually quite lovely to go around the house and find kind of, as long as they're not causing problems. There's been a couple of times I thought, I'm not walking properly. What's going on? And I look under my feet and I find that googly eyes have been stuck, as in like they've been dropped somewhere in the house, and I'm walking around and it's changing my gait, like am I walking, because due to the amount of googly eyes that I'm now walking on that are stuck to my socks. But yeah, coming across googly eyes is always fun, yeah.
And the other thing, I was able to be arty for something for work as well for the first time in quite a while. So it was probably not the best representation of the picture, but I enjoyed making this the big template, which is split into 8. Is it freezes when it's like that? Of that sea, and then a little A5 one they can take home. So that it was quite nice to be creative in that way for the first time in a while. So yeah.
No, well done.
Very cool.
And then Nomad, Tom has been doing the Warhammer 40,000 meets 2,000, so that's a Judge Dredd kind of themed Warhammer painted figure, and that looks pretty cool too. I think that is everything. Good ciao. So that is through from everything. And we are here now just do a little bit more broader chat. We chatted to Lydia last time about cows and certain dresses. If I can't remember the name of the dress though.
Popsy dresses.
Popsy dresses. And yeah, kind of mental health bits and pieces along the way. Was there something else as well? I feel as if there was a third thing.
Neurodiversity and disability sort of stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, tonight we're going to go in for a bit of more of a chat, I can dip into something that I've been kind of, which started actually through our Discord chat. Actually, I was intrigued by podcasts and especially kind of D&D podcasts. And whilst I've been quite interested in a couple, High Rollers and what's it called? I've forgotten it already, but I've got it written down here. High Rollers and Dice Company. It's been really good just to be able to listen to stuff on the walk, you know, as I've been walking, as I've been kind of doing stuff, as I've been trying to get to sleep. But it's just been giving me a little bit of an open-eyed idea about just seeing how other people do D&D, how other people kind of play, how other people DM, and all that kind of stuff. But I don't have to really dive too much into that necessarily. But what I found really interesting and what really kind of compelled me in the last couple of weeks has been how people see religions and how people see gods, small g, and how the kind of religion can play a part in people's campaigns, and whether that's on trend or whether that's whether it's helpful or whether it's a hindrance, whether they're cults or whether they're kind of a community. And yeah, that's just really struck me about listening in on other people's games of how religion plays a part or pulls kind of people apart. Yeah, I found that really intriguing, and it was a bit of a surprise to find it in that. But yeah, it was.
So how were they using? How were they talking about religion? Was it like where you talk about, you know, a sorcerer who does certain practices in order to advance in the game? Is it the equivalent of that, or is it cause for contention that it's just part of a wide story arc?
So there's some that where basically they were trying to actively bring their kind of their god small g back into the real world, and so the lengths that they were going to go to and the corruption and the kind of using people and their beliefs against others, so kind of talking about foreigners and all that kind of stuff. But kind of the authority was the kind of the faith of the city, or the kind of the most kind of and they kind of wangled their way into power and used it to kind of to further their goals. But it was, you know, horrible and mean and disgusting sort of thing. And it was just kind of, whereas interestingly, there was also an element of people of other faith that were also being kind of ousted, and the campaign had to kind of had to try and work out who was lying, who was telling the truth. And I thought that was just really fascinating about kind of finding the truth amongst the religious truth. And I found that really quite fascinating. But again, I wasn't going in trying to think about this. It was just quite surprising of suddenly seeing someone else's perspective on how religion can be used or played out. And obviously it was used for kind of a hook, just as, you know, politics and power and war would be used. I just found it really fascinating of how other people were using religion in the way to kind of the mechanics of a campaign.
And in that sense, you're talking religion in terms of they've got doctrines. Those doctrines are then creating motivation to, rather than religion in that they've got practices, rituals, and festivals. So it's that side of the. It's the mentality, the motivation to do something is to do with what they think is true, and then trying to get other people to do it, rather than it's why I asked about the sorcery, rather than using the practices that emerge from religion that might give them some benefit within the story, which would be quite interesting. It'd be quite interesting to go to use a fictional religion and see how that played out in a story and go, well,
yeah. Well, it was interesting, and I won't give the details just in case if you find the podcast. But this one in particular was an old one, so it's from like 4 years ago. And what I found fascinating is that one of the main characters died. So, but they'd been chosen by their god to be like their chosen one. And the next episode they died. And it's just like, this is just the luck of the dice, the way that the dice rolls. But it was then kind of the DM kind of going, to like being that voice of their god, small g, kind of going, yes, I guess you served me well. And I was like, going to go, what, for one episode? it's like, oh, good. It's how are you going to wangle this one? But talked about kind of the afterlife, what they offered, or rather the kind of the god of the gods or whatever was coming to collect them, and there's still an out just in case if they resurrect the body sort of thing. I doubt it, but it was just kind of, again, really interesting to see how kind of, I'm guessing somebody without a Christian faith, but without kind of a they were kind of creating their own faith and their own understanding of God and afterlife. I also discovered, I also realized that actually the cultists were very much kind of going, oh, for our God, this is the way, death. It's like, okay, so you've got no kind of personal aims there. There's nothing for them as selves. It's all for their cult leader. And there's just, they're just like a tool. They're just like, anyway, I might be diving too deep into it. But, it was really fascinating just to kind of see how faith could be portrayed in a 21st century mechanism of D&D, and of how that kind of is different to kind of, I would say, actual faith, or kind of, established faith and established processes, and how it could be used, or how it could be communicated and explored that way. But it was just as a bit of a surprise of how it crept upon me, because I wasn't expecting it, but again, it was just like, oh, okay. I found it fascinating. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
But then I also find that with my family games, so with my 8-year-old and 6-year-old, when we play that as a family with Becky, I've not really mentioned religion at all. I don't know if that's because of my profession, but it's just more a fact of people and characters, war and territory. So I haven't really kind of covered religion. But not to say I shouldn't or I won't, but it just hasn't been a bigger factor. Anyway.
I wonder how many times historically, and this is where my lack of historical background is shown up, but how many times historically where land and power has been usurped, where there's been no religious connection or no religious justification somewhere within the power grabbing, within the and not saying that it's the religion itself that causes the desire to grab, it's that religion is usurped in order to justify that power grab. And that, I wonder how many times in history it's been completely without any kind of religious doctrine or beliefs about the worth of the people over and above the people that they're taking power from. I don't know. That's a history buff question for our history geeks.
Feel free, history geeks, to make a comment or join the Discord conversation. But what I found interesting when I was researching about these quiz questions was about the reasoning about the gunpowder plot and the kind of the toing and froing from kind of Henry VIII, is it, who had all the wives and kind of made his own kind of the church, and it's toing and froing between Catholicism and Protestantism, Protestantism, yeah. Anyway, Church of England, you know, kind of, and how they're kind of from one monarch to another, trying to kind of re-establish the faith, and whatever you were in charge, you know, you were going to execute anybody who was practicing the other. And it's just like, wow, this has suddenly got very intense in the UK very quickly, over that divide. And so, but yeah, you're left with there kind of going, is it about faith, or is it actually about power? Is it about, you know, putting your own kind of twist on things, and also, you know, using faith as a weapon, isn't it? But I think that can be a very sensitive subject in the world at the moment.
Yes, particularly at the moment. Yeah.
Not that. Yeah. I don't feel educated at all to talk about that subject, but I think where there's innocent lives being lost, then we need to speak out against that and up for.
I know.
It can be really hard, really, really hard. But
well, that got bleak, didn't it, Mark?
It did. It did. Sorry.
But I think there's something, and this is what I've always appreciated in things like Next Generation, or if you remember Quantum Leap, that the kind of slightly geeky, slightly on the edge, historical pastiche type stuff allowed you to enter into these deeper, darker spaces and go, what does it look like to encounter and ask the questions almost outside of our current situation, in order to really engage with the moral, ethical, value-based stuff, to then apply that back into real life. And I think there's something that we do when we play games, when we read novels, when we go into science fiction kind of fantasy worlds, that allows us to engage with something that immediately makes me feel uncomfortable. Conflict and exploring that, and injustice makes me feel uncomfortable, but it's something that I don't want to shy away from. But it's safer to explore that within the context of, and what I think and believe about the politics and the implications behind it in a fantasy world, and then bring that understanding back into the choices I make and the decisions I make. And I think there is huge benefit in this world, or the worlds that we inhabit as self-proclaimed geeks, that allows us to go deeper and engage with less comfortable things.
And I think the recent Doctor Who's, I say recent as in from Christopher Eccleston, sort of really did a really good job of doing that. So they, in the different worlds that they explore, they face an issue that has resemblance to something here, and explores it in that sort of safe space, in that less threatening way.
I think
I've quoted it in a couple of sermons, where they've got that world where they've got everyone on game shows, and Doctor Who says half the world's too fat, the other half's too thin, and you're just sat there watching. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah. I was going to make a joke about, are you referring to the old New Who? Sorry. But yeah, no, you're right. And I think Doctor Who does do that really well. And even some of the later series where you've kind of got about racism, so with kind of Bill and Peter Capaldi's Doctor. And it's interesting because when the kind of the Lord of the Manor, or the Lord of the Tyrant human, and again, it was really interesting that some of his storylines were talking about how the big nasty baddie isn't a monster, it's a human.
Yes.
And it's just like, ooh, I like that, but also boo. And then but then he kind of punches this guy because he's racist towards Bill. And I was like, that's the only time when you've seen the Doctor really properly, you know, in the recent kind of expression of Doctor in the old New Who. That's one of the few times you see him actually punch somebody. He's over racism rather than anything else.
Yeah.
And it's just like going, oh, that's quite powerful, that is.
It's a bit like Harry Potter as well, where obviously the big villain is Voldemort, but actually the more realistic villain and why people hate her so much is Dolores Umbridge, because she's one of us, but she's got such a bad outlook on things. She's actually caused more problems for people than Voldemort, in a sense, because she started the whole you've obviously stolen that wand, so you're a bad you're not even a witch, are you, sort of thing. And there's certain points in the story where you can see a little bit of sort of querying and challenging government, where things are seen as things that they aren't, and people are demonized for stuff that they're not, they shouldn't be demonized for.
The thing about Umbridge for me, though, is that whilst Voldemort is very much a big threat to Harry and to the broader world, Umbridge brings it into the school as a direct threat. I realise that, you know, there's the dark arts, you know, and there are kind of threats that are actively in the school, but for her, she's like the embodiment of like this dark authority that's kind of gets away with it. And I think that's why everyone kind of gets so kind of against it, is that, you know, this is a bad person in Hogwarts having their way and getting away with it. And I think that's where you kind of get more and more angry and embittered towards it, because it feels as if they've succeeded.
She's a politician with beliefs that don't, because she's not a Death Eater. She's not signed up to anything external other than her own political agenda.
Which isn't in the best interest of everybody, just the select few, which again, I'm not going to say anymore.
But again, as we say, all of these things do kind of allow us to explore these themes with a bit of distance and a bit of, dare I say, comfort, you know, that like little kind of creative distance and creative, so that we don't have to emotionally engage with it on a personal level. We can kind of deal with it at hands, you know, at arm's length, which kind of allows us to unpick those thoughts and feelings. And
I think that's a healthy thing to do, as long as we as long as there's probably space to go, and what does that look like in terms of my choices now? What does that look like in terms of my choices for politics, for my consumer choices, that what I learn, what I gain from playing or watching or engaging in a fantasy world, then has some impact on my choices now. I think in terms of a fulfilled life, it needs a both and come full circle.
Absolutely. So, Faith and Geekery, we are kind of plodding along. We had our, sorry, I'm moving conversation on. Is that all right? I realise very subtly, no one noticed. Everyone noticed. That we had our cosplay special last week, or was it last week? Which was fun. Quite liked it. Got a comment coming in. And I'm reading that at the same time, really. Thank you, Stephen. I think that's
yes, and that's the magic of a story, I think, and we touched on that with cosplay last week. Is having story and character to embody concept or idea or otherness, it allows us to engage in the space between head and heart. We can get very cerebral when it comes to justice or politics, but it doesn't necessarily allow us to use the knowledge and wisdom to connect with the source of our wisdom, if we're going Hebrew, which is our hearts. And so to give story that allows and invites people to participate and witness and join those dots is really important. I think art and music do the same thing. But I think we did that with cosplay a little bit.
So I'm just now thinking about kind of the fact that Jesus uses parables. It's not as if he kind of goes, "Hey, look, them over there." Well, he does that as well. But he does. He then kind of talks about. But he uses a story, doesn't he? He uses that vehicle to explore the themes.
Yeah.
We all know about the Good Samaritan. It's not as if there was the actual, but there goes him, Jeff. No offense to Jeffs. But he uses that vehicle to explore these themes and the kind of the beliefs. And
it's that sort of holding up a mirror to ourselves to see what's going on.
Yes, which is such a kind of non-aggressive thing to do, is just you're holding it. That's all you're doing. You can choose to look or to look away. I used to have a mirror in my drawer as a teacher, and if someone came in, particularly in the early years, with absolutely raging, I would hold a mirror and show them what they looked like. And there was one boy, and I remember it just working so effective, because when he stopped scowling, he was such a pretty boy, and he just melted at the sight of his own face, holding such rage. To see yourself, how others see you, is sometimes quite helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know what art form are we talking, the art form art generally, or the art form of?
I think it was generally of all these sort of things, of film, of podcasts, of books, of all these things can serve as modern parables. And I think that's a lot of where we are as people of faith. Yeah, Steve, in general. Yeah, I think we can we're of a generation or generations now where we can kind of gather the dots, join the dots, as Stephen said earlier, between kind of these stories and our faith, and these stories and how it politically motivates us, religiously motivates us, and just kind of they can speak into us, can't they, at a deeper level. At the same time as just enjoying them as well. And I think that is also fine. And that should also be acknowledged. It isn't always about a deep dive. Because as I said earlier, the podcasting, I was not exploring, I wasn't going looking for that. It was just like we're already here, are we? As if you're almost on a journey going, how did I get to this point?
Yes.
I think they can be vehicles for us. I quite like what that can mean for us.
And that's creativity at work. That's where joining the dots comes in. Is you as a man of faith, you as a creative, you as a bit of a geek, willing to go down rabbit holes, your brain's ability to join those dots and draw knowledge from that is always incredible. I think that's one of the many things I enjoy about our conversations and conversations with people that are on a similar bent is that curiosity. What can I uncover in the world today that I can draw into my knowledge banks and make sense of the world around me, or just enjoy the world around me.
I'm aware that time is nearly upon us. What I was about to say earlier was just about our kind of we've kind of had a theme, and we're maybe going to do a Christmas theme. Do we say? And maybe our next one. Oh no, Doctor Who. Doctor Who is going to be our next theme, which would be that kind of. My main
New
question is,
Who?
yeah, of the new Who.
Who? What? Who?
The main question, is going to be so a fortnight's time. So we're going to try and see, and I'm going to look at Becca here to try and get a guest or two about the new Who, and invite them on. We can talk about that, explore that. Oh man, that means I've got a fortnight to create a TARDIS. That's going to happen. Or enough of
it. I expect a Faith and Geekery from inside the TARDIS, and collectively we're all going to say it's bigger on the
inside.
Thank you, Lydia. I knew you'd pick up that little.
It'll just be on the outside.
If it's not built, you can pop across to where I am. Trying not to reveal my location.
No.
And borrow my the standy uppy one.
It will be made and finished by December. It has to be, and I'm looking forward to that. But I have got a good family member that I was very glad of, who was able to say, "I've got wood." I was like, "Good, I'll take some wood." Donated a little bit of money, and
that was a good live reenactment of that conversation.
Well, I didn't want to give stuff away. I didn't want to give stuff away.
Thank you for your word. I will accept it.
Just my brain went to another meaning of wood there, so I'm really sorry.
Oh, mine did not. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on, shall we?
I invite myself on as a guest, and then I'm just lewd. I'm really sorry.
Okay. But I was thinking we've got conversations about kind of directions of Faith and Geekery, because I'm fairly sure we mentioned about competition at some point as well. So I'll talk to Becca about competitions and things. The other way. Oh no, the other way.
You're now looking at each other. You're all good.
Yes, exactly. We'll chat about competitions maybe. I did also wonder whether people, having talked about podcasts, whether they wanted an audio version of this, as in literally just to record this and post it as a podcast file. If people were interested in that, I just don't know.
It would be good if I missed it on the live to catch up in the car, for example. That would be a good thing.
Yeah. But Becca and I will talk about that at some point.
We will.
Cool, yeah. Small things. It's well, bless you. Thank you, Lydia, for joining us. Thank you for coming on last minute again. And that is also a plug, because we talked about Discord. But if you're interested in sharing bits about your geekery, your fascinations, and your hobbies, then do get in touch and just send us a message. It doesn't take much to kind of just reach out and be a guest on here. Just need Wi-Fi, webcam, and possibly headphones.
And something that you could talk about for a bit of time, even if it's generic. I'm a geek, or your love of topiary. That would be an interesting one. Relatively speaking.
I did go to a crochet workshop today, and after an hour and a half of sitting there very frustrated, ended up with 10 lines, chains, whatever they're called, and nothing more, where all the people around me had beautiful squares. So it doesn't always have to be a success, but also the learning thing, where my brain just goes, I'm too impatient to not be immediately good at something,
No, absolutely.
That's okay.
You don't have to be brilliant at it. That's a really good
just enjoy it.
Just bring your love and your passion and your interest and your dorkiness.
Absolutely. Well, bless you again, Lydia. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. And yes, see you on Discord at some point, or in the flesh at some point as well, Lydia. So bye-bye, Lydia.
See you soon.
Bye, lovely.
And thank you, Becca, as always. I hope you enjoy your time in London. I hope it's fun and fascinating. And I hope you're able to read up on snakes and songbirds and snakes on your audiobook on the way back.
Actually.
And we'll
have about a 3-hour drive. I reckon I could, finish it.
We'll we'll have a bit of a converse about kind of
We will.
competitions and bits and pieces like that, if that's okay. And then thank you, folks, for joining us. And remember, you can be part of us in the conversation in Discord. That is the best place to talk. But I mean, there are other ways as well, comments on the videos and things, but we don't catch up on those as much. Discord is the better place to be. If you've not explored Discord, it loads up on a smartphone. It's like a little server of messaging. It's like a little kind of like your own private inbox, and you can follow us and join us, and the details are in the blurb of the video. And yeah, I hope you have a good evening, and yeah, and I hope if you're catching up with us on in the week, that you can have a bit of I'm losing it now. I hope you can kind of join in the conversation on Discord.
Really articulate greeting and welcome.
Yes. Well, it's articulate a goodbye as well. But yeah, just be part of it and give us feedback. It'd be really helpful to know whether you'd be interested in this becoming a bit of a podcast as well as, or instead of, or otherwise, or just kind of, I'm still exploring the kind of social media side of bits as well. Yeah, we'll see how we go. Anything last to say before we sign off, Becca?
I really want to try Faith and Geekery high five. You ready?
Slap.
Slap.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Sometimes Becca can do deep, meaningful whys this week.
And sometimes we just slap each other. Yay! That worked. On that note, folks, keep safe. Bye-bye.